Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the hashtag TFR
Motivation
Monday
Monday.
Zoom. We are Dr. Dondee and Marci
Hi,
Nettles.
guys.
We are your hosts tonight, and we are coming at you earlier than normal on a special day.
It's
It's Monday. We
Love
always
Day.
do this on Monday, but it's Valentine's Day,
Yes.
which is why we're doing this early, because we have a 10-year tradition that we always do on Valentine's Day that we need to get to, which is at the time we normally go live on here. So we're going a couple hours early, few hours early, and thank you guys for acclimating to that. And if you see this and you're not watching it live, it is always going to be uploaded to the amazing YouTube channel we have for Team Freedom Reign, so watch it there. But what do we have to say about this?
Basically just go and search Team Freedom Reigns on YouTube. You want to make sure you subscribe, you ring the bell, and that you get notifications every time we upload new content, right? And part of the reason why we wanted to come to you today at 3 o'clock instead of 6 is not just for us, but also for you. Because we hope that you're prioritizing your relationships today and spending time with the people that are important to you. And so we wanted to make sure that we still brought you the team call because you are one of our rocks, but that it was at a time and a way that we can all do both.
Right.
Because there's a way. There is a way. So let's go ahead and let's get into our content today.
All right.
It's all about the big rocks, right?
First.
Yes, prioritizing your valuable time.
Right. And if you're not familiar with this analogy, I had a chance to see this live when this demonstrated live by the guy who actually brought this analogy to the world. His name is Stephen Covey. He is the author of The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. When I was an undergrad at San Jose State University, Stephen Covey came to San Jose State and we had a chance to see him talk, and he demonstrated this principle live. Big rocks first. And well, what are big rocks other than the obvious? They're your priorities, the things that matter to you most, like your amazing spouse.
Right? Yes, you are.
Like your faith, like your family, like recreational time, whatever they are for you.
The things that bring you the most joy.
Yes, the things that widen your smile and make your heart fulfilled. Those are your big rocks. But in your life, so the jar here is your life, or 24 hours in a day, or 7 days in a week, or your month, or it's just analogous for life. And the things that are the most important need to go into your life first. It's where you spend the majority of your time because they can't go in last. I've got a great quote to show you on that.
Yeah. And the thing is that if you try to put them in last, then that's when those things that are important to you get damaged. That's when they get all the scrapes, the bruises, just basically the lack, right? Because you're trying to shove them down in between the things that you've already put in basically as a higher priority than they are.
Yeah.
So
if you're looking at that picture, if you look at the picture on the left of those two jars, you see there's big rocks on top, but they can't, the top of that jar is the limit. It's only what the jar can contain. And even though those rocks, those big rocks, those high priority things, in other words, the things that mean the most to you, they can stack on top of the rocks in that jar example. But if you're not putting them into your life, they don't fit. And so the picture on the left is all the contents that you see or the picture on the right, rather, that fits nicely into that jar is the same contents on the picture on the left, but what goes in first? The big rocks. When you pay the most attention to your highest priority things, then you can fit in the smaller rocks around them. And then the sand, the less important things that we tend to spend the most amount of time on. And I'll read you an article from Forbes magazine that kind of puts that into perspective, but you have to focus on the big rocks first. They go into your jar first, but the big rocks, your highest priority things, need to go into your life first and take your precious time that is your most valuable time.
You know what's interesting about that too, that just came to me, is that, when you're building a business, sometimes you have to make sacrifices, right?
Yeah.
And you talk about that short-term imbalance for long-term balance. It's a matter of keeping control of that as well, and making sure that even when you are in that imbalance stage, that your big rocks are part of the communication and they're part of the planning, and that you keep them in line. And I don't mean in line in a way that some of you may be thinking, but in line with understanding that the reason why you're out of balance right at that moment is because of them, because of what you want to be able to bring to them, about what you want to be able to do for your family, what you want to be able to provide for generations to come. And that as long as you're doing it together in communication and basically holding hands, even though you're not doing the same work towards it, but having the same understanding, that's why, other things just might seem like a little bit more of a priority for that short amount of time.
Right.
So are you ready to move forward?
Yes.
Okay. Maybe. There we go.
So as I said, this is Stephen Covey, the author of The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. This is his quote about this. If the big rocks don't go in first, they aren't going to fit in later. It's just a matter of prioritizing your time. So great quote.
Yeah. And so keep in mind too, that big rocks are different for everybody. We all have different priorities. It's just a matter of you understanding what your priorities are, because I won't tell you that my priorities should be yours. No, they're mine. We have very similar big rock priorities, right? Because we're married, we're in relationship. And so we need to have that congruency. But, for somebody else that's part of the team, maybe we might have similar priorities, but they're not going to necessarily be the same. So identifying your big rocks and really understanding the importance of keeping them separate and acknowledging them is really the first step.
Yeah, especially when you're with the person 24/7. We are together literally 24/7. And so you have to prioritize your time. And you have to want to be around the people that you love and care about the most, or you want to be around them. Otherwise, when you want to be around them, they take and they deserve your most valuable time.
And one of the things I want to say about that, though, guys, just being really vulnerable with you and being as authentic as we can be, is that we don't always succeed at this, because being around each other 24/7, sometimes it's really easy to let the little things take priority, because then we take for granted the time that we're together all of the time, and not really focusing specifically on a relationship, but always almost running in different directions along the same line, but separately, if that makes sense, instead of making sure that we really focus on having that together time. Something that we focused on in the past that we're getting back to now is making sure that we have date nights to be able to focus specifically on his amazingness and who we are together, right? And so you have to understand that you may not be perfect at this, but it's a matter of recognizing when maybe you've slipped and you've let other things that aren't as important come in to your life, that you need to maybe reprioritize and change things up so that everything can fit into those jars that we showed you previously.
Yes.
Ready?
Yes. So work-life balance. When people talk about it, think about the word that is first when people use that as a reference point: work-life balance. They put work first. Most people do, because for those of us who are employed, and for most people work that 40 to 50 plan, 40 to 50 years of their life, they're spending 40 to 50 hours a week working. It does take the majority of your time, which is why I understand why in this analogy or this example, it's used first. Work is first. But when you have it out of balance, what do they say about work? If you guys have ever seen the movie The Shining with Jack Nicholson, when he talks about all work and no play, makes Jack a dull boy. And then we see the outcome of that movie. It's pretty crazy but that happens all the time, where they work so much, or they just get so committed to it that it's a little out of balance. And this is just a partial list. These are some of the things that came up with, and you're probably going to see that there's some things on here that are not on this list, because in some people, like friends, for example, or like in the network marketing community, the team, as an example, most people have their own unique priorities. They're not expecting, like we would never expect, like Marci said, for our priorities or our big rocks to be your big rocks. They may be similar, but maybe yours are bigger in size than ours, or ours are bigger in size than yours, or it doesn't really matter. But here's just a list, just for it to look at, to put things in reference, because we are talking about life, the things that we do in life. So for us, our faith is first. Not saying that it has to be yours. Some people don't even have a faith, and that's okay with them. But the husband, your wife, your spouse, your family, work, recreation, vacations, relationships, etc. And again, as the third column over, insert your priorities, because this is what matters. It's your life that we're talking about. It's your rocks, your big rocks that we're talking about. You just have to identify them and how they fit into priority wise into your life and your time frame.
Yeah. And so for us, being a blended family, we've been through situations that some of you may not have been through, but it's really helped us to understand the importance of the prioritization between, first for us, it's God first, then it's our relationship as husband and wife, and then our children. Mm-hmm. Our children do not come before Dondee and vice versa. And the reason why that is because it's our partnership together that is able to provide the foundation that our kids need. And we need to be strong together first before we can be the parents that we need to be for our kids, as well as for our grandkids, right? And then on top of that, it's like the kids grow up and they move out and they go away. And if we haven't prioritized ourselves and our relationship, then this won't last after the kids are gone, right? And so sometimes people find themselves out of balance, even in their parenting and then their relationship as husband and wife. So just something that I just felt like I needed to share with you guys, because when it comes to building our business, sometimes we get so out of balance with the priorities that we're even putting LifeVantage above husband and wife, or putting LifeVantage above our kids. Remember, that's the compromise, that short-term imbalance for long-term balance. You don't want to be so out of balance in that short-term imbalance without having the love and the respect and the communication with your spouse and with your children, that when you get to that long-term balance, they're not there to be in the balance with you.
Exactly.
Yeah. So it's really important. And then we'll even tell you that it's like, I would say on this list, our health and our fitness has to come up above even vacations and outside relationships. Because if we don't take care of our health and our fitness, our wellness, then we're not going to be able to be what we need to be, those rocks in other people's lives, right? So as you're looking at this list, you just need to go through and really create your own priorities list. What is most important to you? What if it was gone tomorrow? Would you just be all out of balance and just reeling because you're missing that part of your life so much? And make sure that you put these in the right order. Those for things at the top for you that are just the most important, then work your way down. So that's why we put there on the right-hand side of the list is insert your priorities. They don't have to go into this list, but you need to create your own list. And then you'll go into your calendaring, making sure that you block out time for the most important people and things in your life, and then adding in to, like we say all the time, nooks and crannies. And sometimes you have more time and other times you have less, but it's in the nooks and crannies that you can start building this business, building the relationships inside of your network marketing business. But you want to make sure that you've blocked out that time for your big rocks.
Yeah. And in life and in business. And for example, when you have identified your priorities, in other words, what your big rocks are, and you treat them accordingly, because here's the thing. This is one of the things that Stephen Covey asked when he was giving this demonstration. He asked us to all identify. We actually had index cards, and it was a participatory thing to write down your big rocks. And then he looked at them and he said, okay, now I want you to look at them and identify them, and then ask yourself, the top rocks that you have, your biggest rocks, do they know they're big rocks to you? And I get emotional thinking about this demonstration that he did, because Stephen Covey's daughter at the time was probably about 12 years old. This was probably 1986 to 1987. I was getting close to graduating from San Jose State, and he brought his 12-year-old daughter. This was a Tuesday afternoon. And he was in town, not from California. It was San Jose, California, where I was going to school. He brought his 12-year-old daughter with him, and he was supposed to have lunch that day with a very high priority person in the local government of California. And he actually canceled, or he actually was invited. The person invited him to go to lunch at this time, and he said, no, I'm sorry, I can't come. And the person was kind of off-put by that. It's like, what are you talking? And if I gave you the name, you'd know the name. That high of a priority of somebody in politics. And this was even back in the 80s. And the person said, I'm kind of surprised that you won't have lunch. And he says, well, I need to tell you something. My 12-year-old daughter is with me, and we have lunch every Tuesday. which is why she's with me on this trip as opposed to being home. And she's my big rock. And having lunch with my daughter, and if I were to cancel lunch with my daughter to have lunch with you, my daughter would question whether or not she's a big rock. And I don't ever want her to do that. And that was so powerful for me to witness and then he brought his daughter out on stage. And, she was just the adorable thing, but it set a really, really strong example that is the lengths that you take. Do your big rocks know they're big rocks? And they should, they need to.
And if you're not sure, go and ask them.
Yeah.
It's just like
Absolutely.
that audit, we were at Elite Academy and they challenged us to go and ask the people around us, being vulnerable, how they feel like we perform in our business and as, leaders or as advisors or anything like that you're giving service to other people, asking them, how they feel like we are performing. And I would say go and do the same thing with the people that are the big rocks in your life. Make sure that when they respond to you, that you don't take it personal if they say, well, no, not really, right? Take it as a learning opportunity to be able to maybe rearrange your schedule and what is really taking your time away from the people that should be your big rocks.
Yes. And before you go to the next slide, I want to acknowledge something that's happening in the chat. Mary Ellen said very, very astutely, that's a big list. And if you look at this list, this is not all the things we want to be rocks for you. No. This is just examples because
this is not our list, by the way. This is not our list. These are just examples. Just ideas.
Great analogy, a great point, Mary Ellen. I want to share something with you. In January of 2020, Forbes magazine put out an article called "What Are Your Big Rocks?" And they said in this article, people tend to run into 3 problems when they think about their priorities, their big rocks. 1, they have too many priorities. Exactly the point, Mary Ellen. So, and it says to pick 4 to 5 big rocks. How you prioritize your smaller rocks and your sand and your pebbles is completely up to you. This is all about the big rocks. So having that many big rocks, as Mary Ellen said, wonderful point. It's too many. Pick 4 to 5.
Yeah. So for us, it would be God, our marital relationship, our kids, right? And then our business and our church would actually come after our business because we've got God first, right? But that's the way it would be. And for us, and then of course our wellness has to fall in there, but other than that, so good point.
So 3 big problems that Forbes magazine said. 1, there's too many priorities. 2, they do not or cannot differentiate the truly important priorities. That's where it takes time. And how do they fit into your why? And then last, for any number of reasons, they let other less important things get in the way of focusing on what really matters. We tend to do the things we want to do or like to do before we do the things we need to do. The things you need to do are your big rocks, and your big rocks need to know they're your big rocks. So let's go on to the next slide.
Okay, good points.
So how do you know
if it's
not
working
or if it is or if it isn't? I love that picture there. Wellness or stress? How do you know? You can have physical wellness, financial wellness, emotional wellness, marital wellness, relationship wellness. And if you're stressed about any of those things, they're probably out of priority a little bit, or that big rock doesn't know they're a big rock. And just as an example, on Valentine's Day, I try to let this amazing big rock in my life, let her know every day how big of a rock she is, whether I look her in the eye and tell her, or I do something anonymous that maybe she won't even find out. Doesn't matter that she finds out. What matters is that I'm doing it. That's the most important thing, because it's sacrificial, but not to get brownie points or accolades, because it's your following your heart. That's the thing. How do you know if it's working or not? Well, you should have joy, smiles in your life, laughter. Those are the kinds of that should tell you you're on the right track to making your big rocks big rocks.
This guy's so good at that too. And he does it, it ranges it from things that cost absolutely nothing, right? To things that could be kind of a big deal. but on a daily basis, he goes out of his way to make sure that I know that I'm important to him and how he feels about me, whether it's writing me a note in dry erase marker on my mirror in the morning, right? Because he gets up before me. And so he knows that I'll see it. That'll be one of the first things I see. Then I leave it there and it's there for weeks. So I can keep seeing it. But he's also so great at going, and I can get cards just any day, anytime. There will be a card behind, the faucet in my bathroom by the sink. And that it brings me joy, but it also makes me understand that I am that big rock, right? And so just keep in mind that you can do things for the people that matter to you, and it doesn't have to be expensive. It doesn't have to take a lot of time. I mean, how long did it take you to write that note up on the mirror?
10 seconds.
Right. 10 seconds. Right. And yet I am still looking at it today. And he did that like 3 weeks ago. Right. So just know that making your big rocks know that they're important doesn't mean it's going to take up all of your time. Right? Because we know we're busy. We know you're busy. We know that there's a lot to fit into our calendars. But it's a matter of understanding there are ways to get those big rocks in there first before you put all the little things in there that creates that stress down there, and one of the things like with Dondee, he is so amazing because when he sees it's like, we'll have our meeting in the morning. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I have got so much going on today. And I totally forgot I've got an interview. He's like, well, what can I do to help you? Right. So being available to help those people that matter to you in your life, it will go so far. It will go so far. For on those days that you have no time for those big rocks, they will still feel like they're big rocks because you have gone out of your way consistently to help them feel that way. I love you.
I love you.
Thank you.
Where I learned that, though, I got to be honest. There was a movie called Finding Forrester. It's an old movie, 20 plus years old. And Sean Connery's character in the movie says the key to a woman's heart is an unexpected gift at an unexpected time. And I try to implement that all the time.
Right. And just looking, Mary Ellen, you had some good stuff in there. So much good stuff. And Micah, we totally understand that it's an early call today, and there's other stuff going on during the day. And this is just a way for you to be able to do everything. You can watch this. It'll be on the Facebook page. It'll also be uploaded to YouTube. So guys, we know that everybody's busy and trying to fit everything in. And Micah, it's okay because Chevy is one of your massive big rocks. Okay. That's the thing. We knew that not very many people would be able to hop on here with us early. That's okay because you're taking care of your big rocks, right? And that's what we want you doing. Because if you don't take care of your big rocks and then they're not feeling happy, you're not feeling happy, everybody's getting stressed out, how effective are you going to be in the time that you're spending building your business anyway? You're not. You won't. So take care of those big rocks. Ready?
Because they need to know they're big rocks. Yes.
Okay. Got to move this down here. All right. There it is. So again, we kind of talked about this.
Yes. And here's some examples. If you look at the pictures on the left, your family, your investments, your charity, your fitness. These aren't necessarily in the order that we would place them. You just need to go in the order that you would place them. These are just examples because your big rocks need to know they're big rocks. Now, our family is definitely a priority for us over investing. But when we get to investing, we're investing for our family. So the other thing is that your big rocks and your smaller rocks and your pebbles and your sand, if you can make them all intertwined, as far as where you place your time and your priorities, your importance, but if they're all woven together as part of your why or your purpose or your life goals, whatever it is, then they're all going to be easier to do because they're interdependent and related with how you spend your time.
Yeah. And I love the next one down there, the charitable efforts. Yeah. Being able to be charitable with your family is really, I don't want to say killing two birds with one stone, but putting two big rocks into the same. Those big priorities. Exactly. And having conversations with your children around being charitable is such a big thing because you're going to be teaching them how to serve other people while you're spending that time with them. And you're going to be helping them grow into people that are going to make such a big difference in this world. You know, we know that water is life, right?
Yeah.
And so one of the things that is really important to us is being able to help provide clean drinking water to children around the world that don't have that opportunity. And, having conversations with our kids around that, and just knowing that we are also helping other parents be able to take care of their big rocks by us providing water to them as part of our big why. Just all the way around. It just is, it's intermeshing.
Right.
It's all intermeshing.
Absolutely. That's how it should be.
Yep, exactly. And everybody feels good.
So again, the work-life balance, family vacations, your faith, playing games with your family, having fun with your family. We love playing games with our family. We love, Marci and I, our kids aren't watching this, so we love to play games with our kids where we can actually win once in a while.
Right.
Because our kids are pretty crafty, they're pretty thrifty, they team up and they gang up against mom and dad, but
and dang it, they're smart.
Stuff.
They're smart kids.
Yeah, they strategize.
I mean, they're teenagers. They know it all.
Yeah. I'll never forget. I was playing Battleship with my son, and I was sitting with my back to the window, and he was looking at the window reflection of my Battleship pieces in the window.
He was cheating.
He was cheating, but he was doing it. He had this poker face on playing Battleship, and it was like, it was over so quick. And I'm like, what the heck? And I look behind me and I see that he can see my game pieces. And I'm like, now, did he cop to it? No, he didn't. And then when I had told him about it, he was like, okay, but he didn't say anything. But it's because he wanted to win. But I thought it was the funniest thing, and it was cute. We love to play games with the family because it's a priority to have joy and laughter and fun with the people we love and care about the most.
And we could go on and on
Travel,
and on all day long, guys.
Rest, work.
Just the things that you can do, spending time with the people that matter to you, but also that's filling you up. So I love the one there in the center, because one of the big rocks needs to be you.
Yeah.
You need to be taking care of yourself. You need to have that self-care. You need to be making sure that you are full so that you can pour out to other people. Thank you, Kim Jakes, for helping me this last weekend and filling me back up a little bit. I appreciate you so much. But if you're not full yourself and feeling joy and feeling important, and you're not going to be able to make other people feel important either effectively. So it's important.
And thank you, Kim and Jeff Jakes, for the wonderful example that you guys have in how a marriage should be done. Now, it's probably not perfect every day. Ours is definitely not perfect every day. But when we look at that example, and then in the same family, Lee and Elaine Fournier, your marriage, you guys are together 24/7. You're retired now, and it obviously is working well. You're joyful and laughter all the time when we see you guys. So those are the things for us, examples of barometers. We kind of model our marriage after both of yours because it's an example of what's working. And thank you for having those examples in our life, because it's important to us. How do you know when you're over the target? When you get emotional like this, it's talking about something that's important, that's special. Relationships and basing your working relationship on someone else's example is a big rock for us, which should bring out emotion. So again, Lee and Elaine Fournier, thank you for your example. Kim and Jeff, thank you for your example. And if we can be an example to any of you, then I'm sure that we are grateful for that too, because that's what we want to do, is leave an example for people to follow, which is because people are watching you. Our kids are watching us. Our sons and our daughters are watching how we interact with each other on how it's supposed to be. And now we try to base it on a godly example. So we're hoping that we leave positive examples, but that's the intention, is to leave an example that someone else can follow.
And I got to tell you, we have so many great examples out there.
Yes,
I mean, it's like we could really start naming a whole list of people. Bob and Laura are really great examples with their marriage as well, and prioritizing their family and all the service that they do. And we could just go on and on and on. So we are so grateful for every single one of you that have been examples to us in making sure that you keep your big rocks the priority, because we're in this together, right? We're here to,
my stomach.
If you heard that roar, it was not like lightning, thunder.
No, that was my stomach. We haven't eaten today because we're going to dinner today.
Yeah. So we just want to thank all of you for your examples and helping us prioritize, but also because you guys are a big rock in our lives too. And we want to just make sure that we're all doing the right things, because every single one of us are here with this opportunity, here with LifeVantage, here with this team, because we want better, we want more, and we just want different, right? We want change in our lives. But just as Stephen Covey says here in this quote, if we keep doing what we're doing, we're going to keep getting what we're getting. And so if you don't have what you want, then you got to take a look and see maybe where your priorities are not where they should be, right? So this is my priority right here,
That's
right?
fine.
And so we get to go out, and lots of you know what what we love to do every year on Valentine's Day. This is something that we've done since when we were dating, clear through. Even at one of our events, we did it. But we love to go to a restaurant, the same restaurant every year. It's just a really simple restaurant because we know that it's a place that people that generally don't go out and spend a lot of money on each other, they're going to be going there for dinner. And we go at about an hour early before our reservation. We sit up above in this little area and we just watch the whole restaurant. And we get to see the people interacting with each other. We get to see the couples that maybe don't get to spend a lot of time together. We get to see interaction between couples that love each other. And then we get to talk about it. And we get to decide who we think in the restaurant is as close as possible to be in as much love as we are. And then we buy them dinner without them knowing it's coming from us. So that's our tradition. And that's why we're doing the TFR call early, because that tradition is very important to us. This time's very important to us. Our relationship is very important to us. And so it has to be that big rock. So thank you guys for letting us change the time on the TFR call and understanding that. And I know you've got more that you'd like to add in here, I believe. So
yeah. And you just mentioned, it was a great segue. Changing the time on our call was such because she's a big rock. You guys are obviously big rocks. Doing this consistent every single Monday for years and years and years, it's important to us because you guys are a big rock. Pouring our hearts into yours is important because you guys are big rocks to us. Having people that are special guests to pour into you guys they're important. You guys are important. So we want to do that. But as far as our priorities, I want her to know she's a bigger rock. And I don't want that to be negative towards you guys, but she is my other than my God, this is my biggest rock. And so we're changing the time of this call so we can go be each other's big rock on this day. But when you do that, I wanted to share this with you too. We've been at the same restaurant for now. This is our 10th year we've been doing this.
Other than the 1 year that we were in, was it St. Louis?
Yes.
Somewhere.
But it's because it's a chain of restaurants. Well, it used to be. Over the pandemic time, they've closed every single location of this chain of restaurants except one. And the one that we were going to was one of the ones that was closed. And we didn't realize it until last year. I went to go make reservations and couldn't. But we found the one that is still there, in which we went to last year. And this is the interesting thing. When we walked up to tell them we were here for our reservation, we had a mask on. It's COVID. The manager that was behind the counter we're at the reception area had a mask on, so we didn't recognize each other. But when I told her we were there and that we're going to be asking her for her assistance, when she pulled down her mask, she goes, "It's you guys. You guys are here." When they closed the previous restaurant that she was at and got transferred to a new location, she said, "I was telling our general manager it's going to be so sad because the Cupid couple come in every Valentine's Day and they were looking forward to that. They even mentioned it." She goes, "I'm so glad you guys are here." She went and told one of the servers who had been with them and been with us on Valentine's Day. They came over and said, "We're so excited you guys are here. We were wondering if you were going to come." That's important to us, but it was also important to them. She says, "We talk about it for weeks."
They call us
beforehand.
The Cupid couple.
The Cupid couple is what they call us. And we don't do it to be called the Cupid couple, but when we do what we do and it's consistent every year, it makes an impact on them. And it makes an impact. And they just said, she goes, "We look forward to it so much when you guys come in, and we were stressed that you wouldn't find us. And we're so glad that you did." So that's important, but for us, it's watching the reaction on the people's face when they're told why their dinner was being purchased and what the criteria was. They were the most in love in the restaurant other than us, and anonymously.
It validates their love and them treating each other as big rocks.
And we know their night is going to be blessed significantly. That we hope that's all they talk about that night is, "Can you believe somebody bought us dinner because we were the most in love?" How amazing is that? that is going to be something that pays dividends. That's legacy. And last year we had, I think, two people said they were going to start doing the same thing, or two different couples told their server
it's a ripple effect.
They were going to do the same thing. Now, again, it has to be anonymous. The server knows, the manager knows, we know, but they don't know who bought them dinner. And that's the whole entire point.
Yeah. Amazing. All right, guys,
Yes.
we love you.
We're going to go do ours now.
Yes. And we just want you to know that you are so important to us. And we pray that each and every one of you is full to the rim with love and understanding that you are important and that there are people that hold you as their big rocks. So happy Valentine's Day. And we will see you all very soon. Next week, we've got a special guest coming again. We'll be continuing the series. So look for that notification, but we're super excited. But happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day, everybody. God bless you. We love you.
Bye.